Okay, so let me show you also. This is about the socioeconomic class that they belong to. You can also see what political observation they have. They probably are belong to the political right wing, to the political far right, and I you can see this by the language they use. So the narrator uses some words like camel countries, which is not a very nice word for you know third world countries, Arab countries, Iran, Iraq, those kinds of countries. His friend's brother is a soldier. He is in the army, or he's in the navy in those countries, Iran, Iraq. So he's actually using words that are racist, and this racism probably comes from his family as well. So he also uses other words that show prejudice. For example, he talks about the fear that his sister or his mother would get pregnant from swimming in the same water that his semen has, his sperm floating around in the water, that they will get pregnant from swimming in the same water. And he says that he has a fear that his virgin sister will have a two-headed retard baby. And this word retard is also not a very nice word for the disabled or the mentally challenged people. So retard baby, that's a very obscene, obnoxious word to use. So this also says something about the cultural environment in his own family. They don't speak very nicely to each other, or at least they don't teach their children to behave very nicely. So you can understand a lot about a family and the family members on the basis of how they speak to each other and about other people. Okay, so this was the setting, time and place. America. I don't know where, some state in America, in the United States, probably, and in modern day America. So we've talked a bit about setting. Some of you have mentioned that the setting is kind of a normal setting, but it is normal in the Western world, in our culture. And it is normal for a middle class family. So we are dealing with families or family patterns, or families that want to have a facade, to have the nice polished facade. They have a reason to hide something. They want to look good, but the message is that behind the nice facade, the polished facade behind nice American families, there's often something rotten or something very ugly that is kept a secret. So actually the general picture that he paints of America, middle class America, is a very dark picture and very gruesome picture of middle class America. People hide things, definitely, he says. Also, the things about teen suicides, this wave of teen suicides, the narrator is convinced that these teen suicides have something to do with the unfortunate young people trying to masturbate or get pleasure from being choked, and that they experiment with this, and that the experiments go wrong, and that the parents try to hide it. So this is what he tells, and again, this paints a very negative, very dark picture of general picture of American life and middle class America in general. So, what do we learn about the narrative mode? Speaking about the narrative mode is the way an author chooses to tell his story. In some stories, there are dialogues between different people. In this story, there is no real dialogue. There's just this one monologue, this first-person narrator, who, from a first-person point of view, tells his story. And it's like a letter written to a friend, really. He calls the narrator calls himself Saint Godfrey, which is a pseudonym, another name for himself. His name obviously isn't Saint Godfrey. Saint means someone holy that can't possibly do anything wrong because he's so saintly, he's so holy. And Godfrey is, of course, because he has no gut left after his accident. So this story is in the form of a letter to a good friend, where he tells his most intimate secrets to his friend. And this first-person narrator, is he reliable or is he unreliable? Well, we have no reason to doubt that he is not telling the truth. It's the other way around. He is actually very honest with us, but he also wants to tell a good story, so he might have a reason to exaggerate some of the things that he says. He speaks in a sort of language with a lot of slang, a lot of obscene words for sexual parts, that tell us that he is a young adult or an adult, and that his reader, his friend, the receiver of the letter, is also the same age as him, or an age that will appreciate this language and understand this language. It's probably not a letter to his grandmother or to his baby sister or something. I don't know. But anyway, we have a first-person narrator, and make sure to understand that just because he tells an anecdote, a short story about one of his friends or two of his other friends, just because he's talking about a friend of his does not mean that the narrative point of view changes from first-person narrator to, say, third-person narrator. It's not that way around. So it's a first-person narrator all the way through the story, and he just talks about different episodes that his friends have experienced. So there are two anecdotes that he tells before getting to his own story. We could almost call it a testimony, right? Because he kind of admits something very large. Okay. Also, I want to talk about his the big brother who feeds his friend the big brother in the Navy who sends letters home with helpful jack-off tips. So these letters are meant, obviously, as a joke, to inflict pain on his younger brother, and it's very dangerous things that obviously he's lying about these things just to inflict pain and shame on his brother. And his brother, being young and naive, believes his older brother's stories to be true, and experiments with these things. And his older brother also picks up some language from French and Arab and Russian. So that the narrator gets to know these phrases from speaking to his friend whose brother is in the Navy. So this is the reason why the narrator knows about these expressions. Now, this older brother, he is mean, he is sadistic, and he wants to hurt his younger brother. This says something about the type of family that he comes from, the culture. And I apologize if there is a lot of noise right now. I think my wife is vacuuming the kitchen. Anyway, to understand, to make a good essay, a good analytical essay, you must get to the core of what the message is, what the themes are in the story. You must get to the core of what the story means and what the story talks about. And you must be detailed. You must make examples from the story and quote from the story and explain the quotes, just like I explained stuff right now about the story. So also you must adhere to the form in the essay. The essay has to be 900 to 1100 words long, and separately from the essay must be your outline of these three types of horror, or how horror can function as a mirror. And it would be very nice if you included this knowledge that you get in your understanding of the text as well. And many of you have concluded that the type of horror is generated because it's a mirror of how we automatically are afraid of something that our human evolution have historically seen as a threat to us. So we are afraid of blood. We are afraid of these kind of guts and gore and blood. It's like imprinted in our human nature. So a lot of you have seen that. Also, it functions as a mirror of our society, because we have this middle class who wants to keep up the nice facade of things, but probably have a lot of secrets as well behind the nice polished facade. So it's a mirror of human nature, it's a mirror of society, and I can't remember what the last one was, but it is very good if you include your knowledge from what you have read in your analysis, and it kind of helps you get some meaning out of the story. So yes, that was it. Now I have given you some work to do on Min Læring as well. You're going to work with quotes, among other things. All right, take care.